This is a book review of Sergeant Fury and his Howling Commandos. The Howling Commandos came out in 2019 and it's by Lee, Kirby and Ayers, of course, and many other people also involved, inkers and letterers, etc., and colourists. So Sergeant Fury and his Howling Commandos, there's the back cover, 1 to 19. Covers the period 1963 to 1965. Obviously, the period it really covers is the war, Second World War. And you've got a variety of characters, obviously Sergeant Fury, who of course went on to become Nick Fury. But you've also got Gabrielle Jones, Percival Pinkerton, and Rebel Ralston, and Dum Dum, and many others. So I'm just going to quickly run through these. I think they're just great stories. As always with these epics, sadly, they don't include the list pages. They don't include lots of an introduction. I would love to see that. But you do get really great stories. So the first issue was May 1963, all the way through into 1965. Hopefully there will be 2 or 3 more, if not many more, volumes. They had lots of reprints in Sergeant Fury, so I suspect that obviously not every issue will be printed. So Sergeant Fury #1, you've got 7 Against the Nazis, another big one from the talented team that brings you the famous Fantastic Four. So you've got great story, Jack Kirby, inking by Dick Ayers. And, well, they're straight into it. Lots and lots of action, lots and lots of conflict, lots of Germans that are always screaming and shooting and never seem to be able to hit anyone. And obviously, we surrender is straight away. There's lots and lots of gunfight all the way through. Lots of Nazis with flamethrowers and also great things like here, weapons of war. So you've got here, US commandos know these pea shooters like we know our first names, etc., revolvers, pistols, etc. 7 doomed men. You've got some very dramatic stories. As it says here at the back, this is basically a war comic for people who hate war comics. And I think they're just great stories. If you're not really into war comics, you probably look and think, oh. We did have a lot of war comics in the UK. We had the Commando magazine, Hotspur, whatever, Victor, loads and loads of, and I have to say most of them were interchangeable stories. There was nothing like this. Now, Sergeant Fury did actually turn up, I think it was POW comes to mind, in the UK. But you just got great stories. The colour restoration in this is superb. Old Sergeant Fury, you can never stop the guy. Impossible situations, he is there and he will take the Nazis on, as well as, of course, he's also got his various bosses back in England who sort of obviously always question his techniques, his approach. He goes in, guns are blazing. But of course, everyone comes out alive. So it's midnight on Massacre Mountain. Got some more chatter guns of World War II. Just dramatic scenes all the way through this. Absolutely stunning. Lord Ha-Ha's last laugh. You have to say that's pretty good stuff. Now this one that's Jack Kirby. Sometimes it always amazes me. It is Jack Kirby. It's amazing when you look at it and you've got different inkers. This one's G. Bell has done it, and the ink, it suddenly changes. Really very odd. You suddenly can see the change in the style. This is one of my favourite ones. Oh, Baron Strucker. He's a great character. Baron Strucker. Now, of course, he's turned up quite regularly. I think he was even in the recent Agents of S.H.I.E.L.D. So he's a real, not to spoil the story. There you go, another story here. The Fangs of the Desert Fox. And it's just story after story. And like I said, Dick Ayers does some of the, obviously Jack Kirby there. Oh, that's issue 7. Court Martial of Sergeant Fury. Really? A movie length. Now, these would make great movies. I'm certain they could have been adapted to movies. People would have loved them. The Death Ray of Dr. Zemo. So, passable art by ex-corp Dick Ayers, as it says here. So you've got Mission, Capture Adolf Hitler. So there was a whole range of different stories. Obviously all war themed. Japanese. So it wasn't just Germans all the way through this, there was Japanese as well. You've also got lovely Marvel Masterwork pin-ups as well, which is Captain America and Bucky, and that's a lovely one. Really quite a fun tale with Captain America and Bucky, obviously in the wartime. And Fortress in the Desert Sands. So you've got obviously in the desert as well. Killed in Action. So you've obviously got Nicholas. It's another air raid. So it's obviously set in London. I think these are just wonderful stories. I just love the artwork, love the stories. They're fast paced, very dramatic, completely absurd, of course. But obviously, there's many other characters like this. There's Sergeant Rock, of course, with DC. There's Captain Savage. Now, sadly, Captain Savage has yet to have his epic collection. I don't think, not even certain there's ever been a reprint collection of poor old Captain Savage. Maybe he will have one day. There's not many really, I suppose. Trying to think of this, Phantom Eagle comes to mind. Marvel really didn't do a vast amount of particular war stories. They obviously did back in the 50s. There were loads. You had Navy action, whatever. I'm certain many other equivalents. And they were good books. And they did, of course, lots of reprints of those as well during the 60s and 70s. So, but sadly, there's also a book coming out fairly soon that I'm really looking forward to by Michael Vassallo, Dr. Michael Vassallo. My apologies saying his name wrong. He's bringing Atlas at War. I'm really looking forward to that volume. Lots and lots of brilliant war comics. Obviously, very different from this. The war stories in this are more like in the vein of the Fantastic Four, those sort of stories. They are like literally a superhero team, unstoppable, completely. The Germans had no chance. They would have won the war in a couple of minutes if they just let them go. But obviously, that didn't happen. Got some lovely bits of illustrate, obviously original artwork. I always love those. Killed in Action. I'm not saying who was killed in action. Sergeant Fury, obviously action in the Fantastic Four style. So you've got some. Don't miss the return of Doctor Doom. Definitely don't want to miss that. And that was apparently in house ad in Sergeant Fury #1. So, which is quite nice because quite a lot of the other sort of issues like Millie the Model, Patsy Walker, never would feature mentions of the other stuff, like Fantastic Four, Spider-Man, etc. But clearly they did in Sergeant Fury. And you've got their original cover back. So this is Sergeant Fury and his Howling Commandos. I would really recommend just check this out because they're really good stories. I think it's a great epic collection. And I am looking forward to an epic collection 2, 3, 4, hopefully.